Obstacles in the mission of propagation. The season of Hajj had ended. The Quraysh wanted to terminate the mission of calling people to Allah at its very beginning. To achieve this, they attempted to weaken the Muslims mentally by resorting to mockery, humiliation, denial, and ridicule. They insulted the Prophet with pithy words. At times, they called him insane. On other occasions, they labeled him a sorcerer or a liar. The Quran mentioned this, and they wonder what a warner has come to them from among themselves. And the disbelievers say, this is a magician and a blatant lie. Quran chapter number 38, verse number 4. Not only that, but when the Prophet sat with his humble companions, the disbelievers would mock them. Indeed, the criminals used to laugh at the believers, and when they passed by them, they would wink at one another in ridicule. And when they returned to their people, they would return rejoicing in their mockery. And when they saw them, they would say, indeed, these people have gone astray, but they were not sent as keepers over them. Quran chapter number 83, verse number 29 to 33. O believers, shall I inform you upon whom the devils descend? They descend upon every sinful liar. They pass on what they hear, but most of them are liars. Quran chapter number 26, verse number 221 to 223. Thus, for every doubt and objection raised against the Prophet ﷺ and the Quran, Allah revealed clear and definitive responses. Most of the objections raised by the disbelievers revolved around three key matters: monotheism, prophethood, and resurrection after death. Regarding monotheism, the Quran provided firm answers, exposing the weakness of their imaginary gods. The powerful explanation of the Quran only fueled the anger of the Quraysh. In response to their claim, Allah revealed the following verse: O Prophet, is it they who distribute your Lord's mercy? Quran chapter number 43, verse number 32. Prophethood and divine revelation wahi are forms of Allah's mercy, and He alone has the full authority to grant them to whomever He wills. Is it just for these disbelievers to think that only the people they choose should receive prophethood? Allah poses this question to them, emphasizing in the next verse that He alone knows best whom to trust with prophethood. When a revelation comes to them, they say, we will not believe until we are given what Allah's messenger have been given. But Allah knows best where to place His message. Quran chapter number 6, verse number 124. They also mocked the Prophet, saying, if Muhammad truly claims to be Allah's messenger, why does he struggle in life just for a handful of food? However, the mission of the Prophet was to convey the message of Islam to all, young and old, strong and weak, noble and humble, free and enslaved, rich and poor. If the Prophet had lived like a king, surrounded by armies, guards, and servants, how could ordinary people, especially the poor and weak, approach him and benefit from his teachings? Thus, Allah made it clear that if the Prophet lived in a luxury like kings, the very purpose of prophethood would be defeated. The disbelievers also denied resurrection after death. To them, it seemed incomprehensible and astonishing. The Quran describes their objection. When we have died and become dust and bones, we will really be resurrected, and also our forefathers. Quran chapter number 37, verse number 16 to 17. Mockingly, they would ask, death, then resurrection, then gathering. What kind of made-up story is this? However, the Quran responded by reminding them, do not realize that the one who created the heavens and the earth without any difficulty is surely capable of bringing the dead back to life. Indeed, He has power over all things. Thus, Allah provided rational explanation for all their doubts. Yet, due to arrogance, the disbelievers refused to think and insisted on imposing their beliefs on others. Beyond verbal opposition, they began directly oppressing those who embraced Islam. If a wealthy and influential person accepted Islam, Abu Jahl would personally confront him and threaten, "I will strip you all of your wealth and status." If the person was weak and had no power, Abu Jahl would resort to physical assault and torture. Severe persecution of the early Muslims. Suhaib ibn Sinan radiallahu anhu was brutally beaten until he lost consciousness. Bilal ibn Rabah radiallahu anhu was a slave of Umayyad ibn Khalid, who would tie a rope around Bilal's neck and hand it over to young boys. They would drag him through the rough rocks path of Makkah, leaving deep scars on his neck. Throughout this torment, Bilal radiallahu anhu would continue to say, "Ahad, Ahad, Allah is one." At times, Umayyah would tie Bilal tightly and beat him mercilessly with a stick. Then he would leave him under the scorching sun, starving and exhausted. He would force Bilal radiallahu anhu to lie on the burning desert sand and place a heavy rock on his chest. He would then say, "By Allah, you will either die or you must renounce Muhammad's religion and worship Lat and Uzza. Until then, I will not let you go." Bilal radiallahu anhu would respond, "Ahad, Ahad," and he would add, "If I knew any word that angered you more than Ahad, I would say that instead." The tragic fate of the Yasir family. Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhu, his father Yasir, and his mother Sumayya radiallahu anhu were slaves of Abu Hudayfa ibn al-Mughira from the Makhzum clan. After they embraced Islam, Abu Jahl led a group of people who took them to Abtar, a place in Makkah. Under the scorching midday sun, they were thrown onto the burning sand and tortured severely. Witnessing their suffering, the Prophet consoled them, saying, "O family of Yasir, be patient, for paradise has been promised to you." Due to the intense persecution, Yasir radiallahu anhu died under the torture. His wife Sumayya ibn Khayyat radiallahu anha was an elderly woman who could no longer endure the torment. Abu Jahl brutally murdered her by stabbing her in her private parts with a spear. She became the first woman to be martyred for Islam. The severe persecution of early Muslims. Ammar ibn Yasir was subjected to extreme torture. He was made to lie on the scorching desert sand with a heavy rock placed on his chest. He was also drowned in water until he lost consciousness. The disbelievers told him, "You must curse Muhammad or praise Lat and Uzza. Only then will we release you." Unable to endure the pain, Ammar radiallahu anhu gave into their demand. However, he later came to the Prophet, weeping and seeking forgiveness. In response, Allah revealed Surah An-Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 106, reassuring those who were forced into disbelief against their will the torture of other early Muslims. Afla Abu Fuhayha radiallahu anhu. He was a slave of a man from the Abdur clan. His captors would shackle both his legs with iron chains, strip him of his clothes, and lay him on the burning desert sand. They would place a large rock on his back to keep him from moving, leaving him in that state until he lost consciousness. One day, his legs were tied with ropes, and his captors strangled him until he lost consciousness, thinking he was dead. They abandoned him. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu happened to pass by, saw him in this condition, and purchased his freedom. Khabbab ibn al-Arwad radiallahu anhu. He was a slave of Anmar, a woman from Makkah, and worked as a blacksmith. When she found out he had accepted Islam, she heated an iron rod and pressed it against his head and back, demanding, "Abandon the religion of Muhammad." Not only did she torture him, but other disbelievers joined in. They pulled his hair, strangled him, and laid him on burning coals. The flames burned his skin, and the fat from his back melted and extinguished the fire. The unimaginable hardships of early Muslims, these incidents are just a few examples of the brutal oppression faced by the Muslims in Makkah. No one would embrace Islam was spared from persecution and suffering. The weak and enslaved Muslims were tortured without mercy because they had no one to protect them. Wealthy and influential converts had some protection, but even they faced hostility from their own clans. Despite all these hardships, the Prophet Muhammad never wavered in his mission. He remained steadfast in his call to Islam, transforming every trial into an opportunity to strengthen the faith. Through his patience and sacrifice, Islam became a timeless religion that would continue to guide humanity until the end of time.